For decades, the trade relationship between the United States and India was defined by high protectionist walls. India maintained some of the highest agricultural tariffs of any major economy, averaging 37%, while imposing complex non-tariff barriers that routinely blocked American exports. This systemic imbalance recently reached a breaking point. Following disputes over India's purchases of Russian crude oil, the U.S. imposed punishing 50% reciprocal tariffs on Indian goods and initiated Section 301 investigations targeting unfair trade practices. Two massive economic powers essentially collided. Both nations were locked in an escalating cycle of protectionism at the exact moment they needed each other to secure global supply chains. Then, in February 2026, the two countries announced a sweeping interim trade agreement. They agreed to immediately step back from the brink, dismantling layers of restrictive tariffs to de-escalate the economic hostilities. This agreement serves as the foundation for what is known as the Mission 500 roadmap. The shared objective is clear: expand total bilateral trade to $500 billion by the end of the decade. Moving that volume of capital aligns Washington and New Delhi as a singular strategic bloc, securing critical manufacturing networks and permanently boxing out non-market adversaries. The first pillar of the agreement targets traditional commerce. The United States agreed to drop its reciprocal tariffs on Indian industrial goods from a restrictive 50% down to a highly competitive 18%. This immediately restores the global competitiveness of India's export-oriented sectors, particularly for factories producing textiles, apparel, and leather footwear. It injects immense pricing power straight into regional industrial hubs, allowing traditional artisans and small-scale manufacturers to compete in the American market on pure merit. In return, India dismantled some of its oldest trade barriers, eliminating or sharply reducing tariffs across a wide spectrum of U.S. food and agricultural products. American farmers now have direct access to sell dried distillers' grains, tree nuts, soybean oil, and freshly harvested apples to Indian buyers. The result is a practical benefit for both economies. Indian citizens get a wider variety of stable-priced food on their grocery shelves, while American consumers see lower costs on everyday clothing, footwear, and home goods. Over the next 5 years, India has committed to purchasing $500 billion worth of U.S. energy and technology products, decisively pivoting its massive procurement pipelines away from Russian suppliers. A core driver of this spending is India's aggressive clean energy target. They plan to deploy 100 gigawatts of nuclear power capacity by 2047 to support their rapidly growing industrial base. To achieve this, India passed the Shanti Act, which radically reformed the country's nuclear liability framework. This removed the single biggest legal obstacle that had previously kept foreign vendors out of the Indian market. By opening up to 49% foreign direct investment, American firms can now form public-private partnerships to actively engineer and construct the physical backbone of India's future electrical grid. That massive influx of reliable electricity is necessary to power the next phase of the agreement, deploying U.S.-origin artificial intelligence infrastructure directly inside India. The pact ensures a significant increase in the trade of high-value graphics processing units, the vital hardware required to run energy-intensive data centers with 24/7 reliability. By coupling advanced AI processing with a rapidly expanding nuclear baseload, the two nations are laying down the exact physical foundation India requires to modernize its economy at massive scale. As this network map shows, through the Pax Silica initiative, the U.S. and India are investing in critical mineral extraction to form a secure loop. Keeping these networks within trusted borders neutralizes the risk of adversarial countries manipulating global markets through export restrictions. With the raw materials secured, the U.S. took another major step by removing Section 232 national security tariffs on Indian steel, aluminum, and aerospace components. Dropping those trade barriers allows Indian manufacturers to supply parts directly to the highly sensitive assembly lines of the American defense and aerospace industries. This integration is guided by the Compact Initiative, which ensures both countries operate under shared manufacturing standards and conformity assessment procedures. Aligning raw material pipelines and harmonizing engineering standards fuses civilian supply networks into a highly integrated, military-grade industrial base. The February 2026 agreement successfully de-escalated a massive tariff war, resulting in the strategic fusion of two of the world's largest economies. To protect this newly built ecosystem, both countries are deploying coordinated inbound investment reviews. By modeling systems after the U.S. CFIUS program, they can screen foreign capital and aggressively block hostile actors from acquiring sensitive commercial assets. It acts as a shield, ensuring that emerging technologies and critical infrastructure remain insulated from foreign market manipulation and intellectual property theft. By committing to $500 billion in cross-border trade, Washington and New Delhi have permanently linked their energy grids, intertwined their defense manufacturing sectors, and merged their artificial intelligence ecosystems. As global supply chains fracture along geopolitical lines, the Mission 500 roadmap guarantees that the United States and India have the trusted, mutually dependent partnership required to lead the clean energy and technological landscapes of the decades to come.